Hi, I'm Steve Krentz, and I'd like to welcome you to Learn and Master Guitar. I'm a professional guitarist. I live here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I teach and play and record every day. In this session, we're going to cover the parts of the guitar, how to tune the instrument, what are the names of the strings, correct right and left hand technique, how to read guitar tablature, how to read guitar chords, and we're also going to learn our first two chords. So in our guitar tips section, we're also going to be talking about getting your instrument ready to play, setting up the action, changing the strings, those sorts of issues. In every session, there will be an assignment page at the end that shows you clearly exactly what you need to cover for the next coming session. And in our workshop time, I'll practice with you over the material that you need to learn in order to move on. Are you ready to learn guitar? Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, first thing we want to talk about is the parts of the guitar. Most guitars are pretty similar in their design. If this is an acoustic guitar, we have the body of the guitar right here. You've got the neck right here, the headstock here with the tuning pegs. Your guitar has 6 strings. They're attached on this end by the tuning keys and down on this end by the bridge. There's a lot of tension on this bridge, so you always want to make sure that's attached nice and tight to your soundboard of your guitar. Sometimes your guitar will have a pick guard here so it doesn't scratch up your guitar when you play. These silver bars and the gold bars are frets. We will learn an awful lot about frets and where to put your fingers on them as well as on the fretboard. So that's the parts of the guitar. The next thing we need to learn is the names of our strings. You have 6 strings on a guitar. Of course, it's first through the 6th, but they're numbered from the thinnest string, which is actually the bottom one, up through the thickest, which is the top one. So this would be the first. This would be the second, and third, and so on. Now, they also have letter names that go along with them. The musical alphabet goes from A to G. So there's different letter names that correspond with each one of these strings, and that's one of the first things we need to learn. So let's learn that first. We're going to do 3 strings at a time. When we do more than 3 strings, everybody gets confused, so we're just going to do 3 strings at a time. The first string is an E. So go ahead and try and play an E. Your second string is a B. And your third string is a G. We'll just do those 3. That's E, B, and G. So if I asked you, what is the second string? What would you think? And if I said, what is the first string? And if I said a G is on what string? Or which string? What would you say? Good. Let's do the next 3. So we have E, B, and G. Now we're going to do the next 3. The 4th string is a D. The 5th string is an A. And the 6th string is another E. The 2 outside ones, 1st string and 6th string, are both E's. So let's put them all together. You ready? E, B, G, D, A, and E. Did you get all those? All right, let's try. If I said to you, what is the note of the 5th string? What would you say? What about the 2nd string? What string is a D on? What string is an A on? Pretty good. All right, now let's talk about right hand technique. The first thing we need to talk about is our pick. There's all different kinds of picks that you can use. There's heavies, mediums, and lights, different shapes and sizes. I'd say the best thing to start out with is a medium pick, one of these teardrop shaped ones. And how do you hold it? Well, you put your pick in between your first finger and your thumb. You want to kind of make a 90-degree angle right there between your thumb and the downward point of the pick. Now your first finger is kind of pointing out a little bit, almost at a 45-degree angle, out underneath that pick. You've got, oh, what is that, about a ½ inch showing? And that's about how much you need to have as far as your pick. You don't want to be up too high or out too wide on it. About a ½ inch, and you will hold it with a good strong grip. One more thing we need to talk about with our right hand is bracing. What that is as we're playing the different strings, your hand is going to need some place that it can reference itself from. Whether it's playing the second string or the fourth string or the third string, it's going to get confused pretty quickly, you'll find, unless it's anchored somewhere. So a good place to start, different guitar players do it different ways, but a good place to start is to just put your pinky and let it touch the soundboard. I don't really particularly care where, and it doesn't have to touch hard. It just needs to touch. It just helps your hand know where it's at and what it needs to do. All right, let's try and pick a couple of these different strings and get some practice picking the strings. Let's do the first string. You ready? Let's go. Okay. What about the third string? What's the name of that third string? Do you remember? Here we go. The third string. Very good. The fifth string. Do you remember the name of that one? Very good. Now, that's the right hand. Let's talk about the left hand as well. Left hand, this is going to be the hand that you're going to be using to fret the different notes with. How this works, as far as the guitar is concerned, you've got 4 fingers on this hand. You don't really use your thumb. Some country players do use their thumb to kind of reach over and catch some of the lower bass notes, but it's pretty tricky to do that and it's not really all that effective. So we're going to go ahead and bring that wrist down and put this hand out like such. You want to make sure that there's air space right here. You don't want your wrist to be way up like this or gripping the guitar very hard like that. It needs to be down a little bit. You've got a little bit of airspace in between there. Now let's put our first finger on the first fret. Okay? Where do we put our finger? Well, anywhere between here and here is fair game. But having said that, right up behind the fret is the easiest place to press it down with, and you get the best sound from it. Not on the fret. A lot of folks think you might put your finger on the fret. Not at all. That gets this kind of funky muted sound. Is not quite what you're going for. You want to be hugging up right behind that fret. Okay, ready? We're on the first string with our first finger. We're going to pick over here. We're bracing our hand, and we're going to do this first string. You ready? Let's play it together. Do it again. And one more time. That's with our first finger. Now your first finger is going to cover anything that happens on any of the strings in this first fret. Your second finger is going to cover anything that happens on any of the strings on this second fret. Let's try second finger. So we release the first finger and put our second finger down here. Okay, now let's try the third. So we put third down nice and strong, release the others up. Now some of you may be getting a buzzing sort of a sound, kind of like this. If your fingers aren't strong enough to get good contact with that string to that fretboard, you kind of end up with this buzzy sound. All that's telling you is you're not making a good enough contact. You got to make sure that finger's hugging up right close back behind that fret. That's the easiest place to put it down. And there, you want to make sure you're getting a nice, good, clear sound. Okay, now let's do pinky. Pinky's going to be the weakest of all of your fingers, so you're going to really have to put him down strong. Let's try the pinky. Very good. You want to make sure that your hand is not way up here like this, all off-centered with your fingers kind of aimed up this way. You want that wrist down, open up those fingers, and bring it out like that, where each finger is covering a fret. A lot of players will come at it like this, and then when they have to use something in that 3rd or 4th fret, they have to open up their fingers. Now your hand may not be used to staying out and apart like that. But unfortunately, with guitar playing, you're going to be doing this position an awful lot. So eventually, it'll get more and more comfortable to you. It may even be, physically impossible for you to move your fingers very apart right now. Your fingers will limber up as you do it, just like if you would be stretching and doing stretching exercises. They get more and more flexible the more that you do it. Let's try this one more time. We're going to be on that 1st string, 1st fret. Here we go. Let's play this note. 2nd finger, 2nd fret. You want to make sure you're using your fingertips, not the flat of your finger like that. You don't want to be doing this. That works real good on the 1st string, but unfortunately it doesn't work very good on the other strings. So you always want to make sure that your fingers are using the tips. So we did 1st, we did 2nd, here comes 3rd, and now we do 4th. Let's do that one more time. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Now, what should your thumb be doing back here? Well, I don't really care what your thumb is doing back there. The only problem is your thumb is attached to your wrist. And I do care about where your wrist is at. If your wrist gets too high, you end up using the wrong kind of muscles, and it doesn't work very well for playing guitar. You want to make sure that wrist is low. You want to use your fine motor skills, your little muscles in your fingers, and bring that down. And so you don't want your thumb way up here like that. It's not a hook. You're not hanging your hand on your guitar. You want to bring it back a little bit so you can do like that. Okay, let's talk about tablature. Tablature is a notation that guitarists use to show which fret and which finger needs to be played at any particular time. It's not really music notation. We'll talk about music notation in a minute. This is called tablature, and it's something strictly for guitarists to use. It really helps you visualize what fingers you need to place where. So if you can look in your books, figure 1 is a line of tablature, and let me just explain how that is. The 6 lines represented there correspond to the 6 strings on your instrument, going in reverse order. So the top string is actually, the top line is actually your 1st string, and then it goes down to the 6th string. In figure 2, where they put some numbers on it, and this is they're telling you, what they're trying to tell you there is where to put your fingers, what fret you need to put your fingers on. Okay, so the first notation there, you see a little 1 right up at the top. That's telling you on that 1st string, they want you to put your 1st finger and to play that note. Okay, the next one after that is a 3, but it's still on the 1st string. So there, that means you put your 3rd finger still on that 1st string right after it. That's the next note. After that, it skips down, you'll notice, to the 2nd string. Still the 3rd finger, though. That's what that 3 is telling you. So if I play just those 3 notes, it would be like this. 1st finger, 1st fret. 3rd finger on that 1st string. 3rd finger on that 2nd string. You'll notice a little bit further on in that figure 2 exercise, there's a 0. What that 0 is telling you is they want you to play that string, the 2nd string is the one that it's on, open. So I'm not fretting any frets at all, I'm just playing it open. Now, it's pretty easy when you get the hang of it to read this, even though it looks a little confusing right now. After you do it a little bit, you kind of see how it goes. So if I was to play figure 2, it would be like this. 1st finger, 1st string, 3rd finger, 1st string, 3rd finger, 2nd string, 2nd finger on the 3rd string, 1st finger, 2nd string. Now here comes the open strings, an open 2nd string and an open 1st string. Now if you look down to figure 3 represents how a chord would look. All of these numbers stacked up on each other are telling you to play all these strings at the same time. Okay, so let's look on what's happening on each of these strings. On the 1st and 2nd string, you have zeros, so that means those are both open. On the 3rd string, it has a 1 there. That means you put your 1st finger down on that 1st fret. On the 4th string and the 5th string, there are 2s, which means that both the 2nd the second fret on both of those strings are being played, and then the last one at the bottom is a 0, so that means that's open as well. So if I play all of those together, it comes out to be a chord, an E chord, but you'll learn about that later. But that's how a chord would look in tablature. Now we're going to talk about some finger exercises. Let's review. On our right hand, we used our pick, and we're going to start doing a picking pattern now. Okay? So I want you, just on that first string, I want you to go a downstroke with your pick, and then I want you to do an upstroke with your pick. Then let's do a down again, and an up again. Let's try that again. We're going to go down, up, down, up. You ready? On the first string, let's go. Down, up, down, up. Very good. And that's on the first string. What's the name of that first string? You remember that? That's our E string. Let's do it on, now we're going to do it on the B string, the second string. Okay? We're going to do the same thing. You ready? Down, up, down, up. Remember to be bracing your pinky on your soundboard. Let's try the third string, the G. Here we go. Down, up, down, up. You want to go for a good, steady rhythm. Go as slow as you need to go to get it good and steady. The idea is control, not speed. If I can get you controlled, then we can get faster. But don't try and be speedy right here. Now's not the time for it. You want to get your hands in control. You want your hands to be able to do what your brain is telling them to do. We're laying a good foundation with all of this. Okay? In the first finger exercise you see, we have the tablature line there, and we're going to do down, up with our right hand, but we're going to put our first finger on this first fret on the first string. So it'll actually end up, we'll be playing that 4 times. Down, up, down, up. And then we move to the second finger, and we do the same thing. Then we do the third finger, and the fourth, and back down. So if I played that, I'll play it nice and slow. You try and play it with me. First finger, first fret on the first string, and we're going to go down, up, nice and evenly. You ready? Let's play. Down, up, down, up. Now your second finger, put him on the second fret. Here we go. Down, up, down, up. Now your third finger on the third fret. Down, up, down, up. Your fourth finger now, your pinky, stretch him way out there. Up, down, up. Now back to the third. Down, up, down, up. Second. There you go. And first. Now, this may be a little tricky at first to do. Everybody thinks they know how to control their fingers until you start playing guitar. Then you realize that your brain really doesn't tell your pinky to move independently of the others very often. So we have to kind of train our fingers to do what we need them to do. Let's do that exercise one more time, a little bit faster. Try and be steady. You ready? Here we go. Let's play. Up, down, up. Second finger with no breaks in between, right from one to the other. Third finger. Fourth finger now, down, up, down, back to third. You're doing great. Here comes second. Nice and steady. Then back to first. There you go. Now we did that on the first string, the E string. Now we're going to go to the second string, the B string. And let's try that one more time. This is still exercise number 1. We're just going to do it on the second string now. Ready? Play. Second finger now. Make sure you're not getting any buzzes. Put a lot of pressure on those fingers. comes the fourth, pinky. Back to third now. Second finger. And first finger. Very good, very good. Now, probably right about now, your fingers are getting a little sore, which is what happens right about now, because your fingers aren't used to doing that. Make sure you're using your fingertips, and your the flesh right on your fingertips will toughen up. At this stage of the game, when you're practicing, just play until your fingers start hurting. Once they start hurting, just back off from it for a while. There's no advantage to playing through the pain or anything like that. Just back off from it, come back on it a few hours later, a little bit later on the night. Give your fingers a chance to heal up a little bit and toughen up a little bit. You'll find within about a week they'll be nice and strong to be able to do what you need to do. Let's go down to exercise number 2. Now instead of going down, up, we're just going to go down, up. So instead of 4 beats, we've reduced it down to 2. Let's go to the third string now. Remember the name of that third string? G. Here we go. First finger, third string, good bracing. Here we go, a little bit faster. Down, up. Now the second finger, down, up. Third finger. Fourth finger. Back to third. Back to second. Back to first. Now let's try and put them all together instead of hesitating in between each one. Ready? Let's try it again. Let's play. Whoops. Sometimes you'll hit the wrong string, just like I did there. Let's try it one more time. This will be the third string, the G string. 2 beats on each. Ready? Go. Next one. Third. Fourth. Back to third. Second. And first. All right, let's go to exercise number 3. Now, instead of just doing 2 beats, we were doing 4 initially, then we were doing 2. Now we're just going to be down to 1. Okay? Well, let's go back to the first string. Brace. Now we're just doing downstrokes on all these. So it should just be down, 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 down. Let's try it. Ready? First string, go. Down. Second finger. Third finger. Fourth finger. Back to third. Second. And first. You should really do each of these exercises on all the strings. It'll take a little bit of time, and it's pretty tricky at first, but as you do it more and more, your fingers will get better very quickly in being accurate on where they need to go. It may seem difficult and a little hesitancy right now. You may be trying to move your third finger, and it just takes you a second before you can actually move that third finger. That's what these exercises are for. They're not meant to be great music at this point. Before we can get to making great music, I got to get this hand and this hand firing together. So that's what these exercises are for. Last two, very quickly. Exercise number 4, we're going to work out finger independence. We're going to go 1, 2, first to second finger, and then first finger to third finger, first finger to fourth finger, first to third, first to second. So it'll be like 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, and 1. Let's go back to that first string one more time. We'll do this one nice and slow. Ready? Play. 1, now 2. Okay, then back to 1. We're going to go 1, 3. 1, 3. And back to 1. We're going to go 1, 4. 1, 4. Now we're going to do 1, 3 again. 1, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then back to 1. Let's do that one a little bit faster now. Ready? Play. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1. Very good. I know that may be a little bit quick for you right now, but Do it a couple more days, and you'll be smoking on it. Okay, the last one, exercise 4. This is the last one I want to touch on. This works out our pinky. We're going to go 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1. Then it just does it again. 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1. Let's do it on a low string. Let's do it like on the 5th string, that A string. You ready? Nice and slow. Ready, play. 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1. Make sure that wrist is down nice and low. You're bracing. You got your pick fingering all right. Ready, go. Let's try it one more time. 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1. Very good. Okay, we're going to talk about chords now. I know you've been waiting for chords this whole lesson, wading through all of these finger exercises, and now we're finally at last to where we're starting to talk about chords, which is the stuff you wanted to learn when you wanted to learn guitar anyway. Chords are written in chord blocks. It's a notation that guitarists use to notate chords. Basically, what you see in your book is a blank chord block. Basically, it's a diagram of the picture of the end of your guitar. If you can imagine the end of your guitar being like this, the dark line at the top of the diagram is the nut right here, and then it goes down with each fret as you come down the chord diagram. As you go across from side to side, horizontally, it goes across the strings. Just imagine like it would be a picture of the top of your guitar, going from the strings across like that. Now, the different lines and the different circles mean different things, so let me just explain those real quick before we get into that. An open circle, you'll notice on the bottom diagram, an open circle, it has an open circle over that first string. What that is telling you is to play that string, but it's going to be open. You're not going to be fingering any note with it. It'll be just like that. And then let's see what's happening on the second string. You've got a filled-in circle on that first fret. That's telling you they want you to put your first finger on that first fret, okay, and play that note. So we've got an open one on the first finger on that second string. The third string, we've got another open. And then look what's happening on that fourth string. We've got a filled-in circle over the second fret. That means put your finger there. Now, which finger do you use? Well, the number underneath that filled-in circle, that 2, is telling you that they want you to use your second finger to do that. The numbers will not always be there, but sometimes they're there. So that 2 is telling you they want you to use your second finger for that. On the 5th string, we've got our third finger there on that 3rd fret. So let's see if we can play all of these together. Okay? Very good. Now you'll notice on the 5th string, we've got an X. On the 6th string, the bottom string, we've got an X. What is that telling you? Well, that's telling you not to play that string. Some chords are 6-string chords, some chords are 5-string chords, some chords are 4-string chords. This one is a 5-string chord, this C chord that we're learning now. So we don't play that 6th string at all. So make sure and don't get sloppy and play that 6th string anyway. That wouldn't be right. You're just playing from the 5th string down. Now you try it. You really got to press those fingers down in order to get it to sound out right. Okay, you ready to learn your first 2 chords? The first chord is a C chord. Now you'll notice on this diagram, it doesn't have anything over that 6th string. Sometimes an X will be there to tell you not to play that string. Sometimes if it doesn't have anything on that string, a filled-in circle or an open circle, it's telling you not to play that string as well. They just give you the ones that you're actually supposed to be playing. Let's try that C chord one more time, starting at that 5th string. We're going to go through it, each string, one string at a time. Ready? Starting on the 5th string. 3rd finger, 2nd finger, open, 1st finger, and open. Now we're going to play all of them together. Ready? Get back up at the 5th string. Let it loose. We're going to play them all together. Ready? Go. One more time. Now, sometimes your chord may sound, if you don't have your fingers in the right spot, you may kind of get a couple notes that aren't sounding particularly right, or they're buzzing in some respect. Check your hand position. Well, this is that C that I was trying to play on that 5th string, and it's too far back. I've got to move that finger where it's just hugging up behind that fret, and then he comes out nice and clear. Now, if you don't have good hand strength, and that's what we're building up right now, it may kind of, even though you have your finger in the right spot, it may come out as kind of a dead note like that. The only difference between this and this is putting my fingers down a little bit stronger. If you notice, I didn't move my fingers at all. It's basically how hard I'm pressing them down. And if you press them down hard enough, eventually that chord will open up and blossom up. That's a C chord. Now, the second chord we're going to learn is a G7th chord. C is probably the most common chord you're ever going to find. G7 is probably the next most common chord you're ever going to play. Here, let's go through it string by string. That first string, I've got my first finger on that first fret. Then the second string, third string, and the 4th string are all open. Well, that's easy. Now on the 5th string, I've got my second finger. And on the 6th string, the lowest string, that E string, remember, I've got my 3rd finger. Let's play them all together. And now all together. Very good. Okay, if you look at exercise number 1, it goes through the C and the G7th chord alternating between the two. So let's start with that. Here's the C chord. Take a second. Get all of your fingers in the right spots. And that diamond right there is just telling you that you play that C chord and just hold it until it's time for the next G7. So let's play that C chord first. Ready? Go. Now let's switch over to that G7. I can move my 3rd and 2nd finger just up a string, and I move my 1st finger down a string, and I'm there. Now I go back to the C chord. I move those back into place there. This one up, and I'm at a C chord. Back to the G7th. And now to the C chord. We better try that one more time. Somehow, getting all those chords and the fingers together and all that takes a little bit of time and effort. Let's do that one more time. Start on that C chord. Now switch to that G7th. You may have to do it finger by finger, or if you can do it all together, that's even better. Let's do a G7th. Back to the C chord now. 5-string chord, remember. Don't play that lowest 6th string. Back to G7. All the strings are used on the G7. And then back to the C. Take a look at exercise number 2. This is called slash notation. You'll see this quite a bit as a guitar player. This is something we play in quite a bit. The different slashes, all that's telling you at this stage of the game is just you're going to be strumming one strum for each slash that you see. Okay, so let's get our C chord back up again. And let's do exercise number 2. Ready, play. 3, 4, then the next measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now G7th. Switch over to G7th. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. And back to that C. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Now take a look at exercise number 3. Now we're going to alternate those chords a little bit quicker, which is, I know it's probably getting a little fast for you, but let's try it. You ready? Start on that C. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now to the G7. Try and not hesitate between each chord. Back to C. G7th. There you go. Back to C. Very good. That's the C, and that's the G7th chord. Now, it may have moved a little fast for you. You may have trouble keeping up at this point, but after we do it, and we go through our workshop time here in a minute, then you'll be able to knock these out pretty quickly. Okay, welcome to Guitar Tips. On this segment, we're going to talk about specific things that have to do with guitar playing that aren't necessarily the technique stuff that we've been covering in the other section. These are some things, these are some items that I would suggest you get from the very beginning if you're interested in starting to play guitar. You can pick these up on our website, or you can also check your local music store. First thing we're going to talk about is one of the most useful things is an electric guitar tuner. They come in different shapes and sizes. This is a pretty standard one. You would plug your guitar in, so your guitar would have to have a pickup in it, either an electric guitar or an acoustic guitar like this one that does have a pickup in it. And you plug it in, and it helps your guitar tune. And as you can see, the tuning is a little bit of a tricky subject if you try and do it manually. So electric tuner like this, sometimes you don't even need a pickup. They have microphones in them, and you just play the note, and it tells you whether you need to loosen the string or whether you need to tighten the string. And when you get the dot in the middle, then you're in tune. Another thing I would suggest you get right from the very beginning is a string winder. A little thing like this, probably just cost $1 or $2. When you're changing strings, this is a lifesaver because you'll be winding and winding these strings all day long if you don't have a string winder. So it's well worth the $1.50 to get one of these. Next thing I would suggest is a case. Some of you may have cases that come with your guitar. A lot of guitars don't come with cases. They just come in a boxed shipping container. So you don't want to use that as your case. It's good for you to go ahead and get a case. Now there's 3 different types. You can get a hardwood case, which that's the strongest you can get. And that's maybe a little bit more than you're wanting to spend. They're pretty pricey, but they do protect your instrument the best it can be. Kind of a step down from that is called a chipboard case. It's a solid case, but it's almost made out of a cardboard, a strong cardboard material. That's a chipboard case. That's good for lugging your guitar around, getting it in and out of the car, that sort of thing. The third type of case is a soft case, a padded case. You put your guitar in this, kind of zip it all up, carry it on your back, and carry it in and out of the car. It isn't as protective as the hard cases, but it does offer some great advantages in portability. Some other little things that I would suggest you get are a metronome. Here's a pretty standard metronome. They also come in different kinds too. Only thing a metronome does is click off a tempo, a good steady tempo. I can speed it up and slow it down. They have electronic ones as well. Now I'd encourage you to there's all kinds of metronomes. Some of them offer a beep, where it just beeps at you. Other ones, you have a click, and I would definitely recommend you get the ones that have a click, not that has a little beep that goes past. It sounds good when you're listening to it, but when you actually start playing with one that has a beep, you'll realize it's much better to have one that has a click. Also, I would encourage you to get a music stand. You can get the little wire ones, or you can get a little bit more sturdy metal music stands. Place for you to put your music, put your resources that you're going off of, so you're not just sitting on the couch looking at it far away at a coffee table or something like that. Now, some other things I would suggest that you have done with your guitar, because you want to make sure that your guitar is easy to play. There's nothing worse than playing a guitar that is just difficult to play. It gets you frustrated, hurts your fingers, and you end up wanting to chuck the whole thing. So it's a very good idea to have your guitar set up, is what they call it. Is have a setup done on your guitar. What they do is they look at your guitar, and they look and make sure that whether your neck is straight. You can do a visual check of that at yourself at home by just kind of looking down the neck of your guitar and making sure it's pretty straight. You don't want it bowing in or bowing back out again. And they can adjust your guitar through a metal rod that's actually inside of your sound hole here. It's called a truss rod. So it can be adjusted. It's not that big of a deal at all. The other thing that you want to check on your guitar is the bridge. Your bridge is this right here. Remember we talked about that. You want to make sure there's no gaps between it and the soundboard. There should be no gaps. If there is gaps, that means it's pulling up, and that's not good news. You also want to have adjusted, and this is part of a setup job, is your action. What action is the distance of the strings from the fretboard. The higher this is, the wider that action is, the more difficult that guitar is going to be able to play. The closer that is to these frets, the easier it's going to be able to play. If your guitar is hard and difficult to finger and to get those notes down without buzzing, have your action checked. That's probably one of the best things you could do. How should you take care of your guitar? Well, just for a second, let's talk about that. You don't want to get your guitar too hot. You don't want to get your guitar too cold. Your guitar really is just wood and glue, and so if you get this thing too hot, it starts warping and coming undone. I can put a heat lamp on this bridge, and in about 5 minutes it peels right up. So it really is just wood and glue. So you just want to make sure you don't do stupid things like take your guitar in the car in the mall. It's in the middle of summertime. That temperature inside your car is probably going to get about 150 degrees at least, and that's well enough to do pretty serious damage to your guitar. So you just want to be real careful with that. It can be hot, but not really hot. Also, you don't want to get your guitar super cold or change temperature really fast. It's in the middle of the winter, your guitar's been out in the car, it's well below freezing, you bring it in, whip it out, you're going to practice like I said you should, that's great, but you set your guitar next to a heater vent. That would be bad. Your guitar, ever so slightly, expands and contracts, and it would crack the finish on top of your guitar. It won't affect how it's going to sound, but it's not going to look very pretty from then on, and once you crack your finish, there's no going back. It's like cracking a windshield on a car. Last thing, you want to be careful not to set anything on top of your guitar. Even when you put it in the case, you don't want to put your music on top of your guitar or put any weight on it down this way. There's just not any bracing that way, and it could crack. Those are just some tips on caring for your instrument and knowing what to look for and some things you should buy at the very beginning. All right, here's your assignment for this session. We've covered a lot of ground, but here's what you need to do in order to move on for the next session. Do all of the finger exercises in your book on all of the strings to toughen up your fingers and also to build motor skill development and control. Second thing you need to do, memorize the names of your strings. Third thing you need to do, practice that C and G7th chord and the exercises that are with it. Each note should sound out clearly, and try not to hesitate when you're changing chords. If you do all of these things and practice them faithfully over the next coming days, you will be ready for the next level. And I'm going to help you practice when we get to the workshop time. I'll see you there. Okay, welcome to the guitar workshop time. This is the portion where we get to practice together. First thing we do before we practice, we're going to do a little hand stretching exercise. So I want you to get your hands, put them fingertip to fingertip, start pressing down. We're stretching out these muscles. You're not trying to break your fingers now. You're just trying to stretch them down. Last thing to come down is your palm. Then your palm comes up. Stretch these out here. Can you feel the difference? Can you feel those muscles stretching out in there? That's a good way to get your hands warm before we get ready to play. Now let's do these finger exercises that we talked about on your page. We're going to start out with the first finger exercise, number 1. Remember, we're going down, up with our hand, right hand, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1 with our left hand. We will do it slowly at first, and then we'll play it one time a little bit faster. Here we go. Down, up with our pick. Ready, go. First finger. Second finger. Third finger. Fourth finger. Back to third. Second. First. Let's do that again. Go back up to second. Second. There you go. Third. Fourth. Third. Bracing your hand, slow and steady. Make sure your fingers are doing exactly what they need to be doing. Very good. Now we're going to do that one just a little bit slightly faster. See if you can keep up. Ready, go. Your fingers should be moving just like a machine. Back to third. The fingers that aren't being used should be just hovering right above the fretboard where they need to go. Slow, even strokes. Try it one more time, a little bit faster. Ready, go. Very good. Let's go to the second string. What's the name of that second string? That's your B string. Let's try it. Here we go. Ready, go. Very good. Now let's do it on the third string. Ready, play. Fourth string. Nice and even and steady. You're doing great. Keep those fingers down. Fifth string, try it. Ready, go. Back to first. Last string, low E string, and ready, play. Keep that wrist down. Make sure you're bracing on that right hand. Good pick position. These are a little bit tougher to push down. You may be buzzing on a couple of these. Remember to be hugging up right behind that fret. And here we go. Very good. That's exercise number 1. Let's do exercise number 2. Now instead of going down, up, we're just going to go down, up. Okay, let's go back to our first string again. Ready, go. Down, up, third finger. Second string, go. Third string a little bit faster now. Fourth string a little bit faster even still. There you go, try and keep up. Fifth string. Last one, sixth string, go. Very good. Exercise 3. Now we're just doing down, just one on each. Okay, let's start a little bit slower. Back on that. Well, let's go back to that sixth string. Let's start there. Change it up a little bit. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Next string, go. Fourth string, go. Third string, go. Second string, a little bit faster. There you go. Get those fingers working. First string. Good. Exercise 4, remember, goes 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. First string. Ready? Go. 1, 2, then 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1. Let's go to third string. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1. Skip over to the fifth string. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1. Last exercise there. I believe it's your fifth exercise there. 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1. Let's touch on that. First string. Ready? Go. 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1. Second string. 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1. Third string. Very good. A little bit faster. Fourth string. Fifth string. A little bit faster. Sixth string. A little bit faster still. Okay, now let's work on our chords. Remember our two chords that we did? The C one is the first one. Let's make sure we form it right. It's a 5-string chord. Third finger on that fifth string. Third fret, second finger, fourth string, second fret. The G on the third string is open. First finger on that second string, first fret, C. And the last one is open. Play them all together. Now all at the same time. That's our C chord. Let's form our G7th chord. Switch our fingers over. Remember, your third and your second finger just need to go up one string set, and they're already where they need to be. Move that first finger down one string set, and he's where he needs to be. G7th chord, let's go through one note at a time. All together. All right, now we're going to jump between those chords. Okay, starting on exercise 1 on the chord examples. Starts on the C chord. Let's do 4 counts for each one of those notes that you're holding it for. So let's go. Ready? Play C chord. 1, 2, 3. Now change to that G7th. Go. 2, 3. Back to the C now. 2, 3. G7th. 2, 3, 4. And back to the C. Pretty good. Let's try it. Let's speed it up just a little bit. Ready? Play. C. 1, 2, 3. G7th. 2, 3. Back to C. 2, 3. G7th. 2, 3. Back to C. Great. Let's move on to exercise number 2. Remember, we do a strum for each slash that's on the page. Remember, for a C chord, don't be hitting that low 6th string. Just 5 strings on the C chord. Ready? Let's start it nice and slow. Exercise 2. Ready? Go. Slow, even strums. 1, 2, 3. G7th now. Switch your fingers over. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to C. Pretty good. Let's try it one more time. Ready? A little bit faster this time. Starting on the C. Ready? Another one. There you go. Here comes that G7. Go. Get ready for that C chord. Be thinking where you need to put your fingers. Go. Very good. One more time. A little bit faster. Ready? Go. Even strums. Push down those fingers nice and hard. Very good. Let's move on to exercise number 3. Now we're going to switch those chords a little bit faster. We're going to go between the C and the G7, but only 4 beats in between each. Ready, play. C. Now G7. Back to the C. G7. Back to the C. How are you doing? You hanging in there? Let's do it one more time. A little bit faster this time. Ready, go. G7. Back to C. Pretty good. G7. And C. Okay, this will be the last time we're going to do it, so we're really going to kick it up a notch on the speed. See if you can keep up. Ready, go. G7. Back to C. G7. And back to C. Very good. I hope you've learned something this first session. A couple things I want you to think about as you're practicing. Remember, about 15 minutes or more, 5 out of 7 days of the week is a good place to start on practicing. You will only improve by the amount of effort that you put in it. Man, I wish I could just tell you the information and you would get it. But unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that you got to do on your end, which is practicing. So I'd encourage you to do that. 5 out of 7 days a week, 15 minutes or more. If you can pull up to 30 minutes, 5 out of 7 days of the week, that's great. Doesn't have to be at the same block either. You can just do a few minutes in the morning, maybe a few minutes at night. Keep working hard at it, and I'll see you next time.